Hi, this is Michael Kaim. I've been selling real estate for over 20 years. Our team of highly skilled professionals, along with our aggressive marketing plan, has sold over 4,000 homes all over the greater Cleveland, Akron, and Canton markets. And this is how we do it.
Yeah, so guys, how about that ride in? I guess that's why they call it Menor, right? Pause for effect. So, I'm this topic's near and dear to my heart, and as soon as she said it, it's something that I have a plan in place to work on. So, I wanted to share it with all of you. So, when you have a card, I want you to think about what your goals are. Just write them down. What kind of lifestyle do you want to have when you retire? Just think about it for a second and start writing it down. What are you working every day for, basically? Now, how much do you need coming in each month to live that lifestyle? So I want everyone to write a number down.
We're going to start again because you're talking way too fast. What's
Sure.
the first question?
So what are your goals? Think about it. What kind of lifestyle do you want to have when you retire? Right? Just take a second, visualize, think about whatever that may be. Some people are going to have bigger numbers than others, but now monetize it. Write a number down.
How much I need in the bank in order to live the way I want to live?
How much do you want coming in each year to live that lifestyle?
The income after I retire?
Yep. Now multiply that by 10. You guys just look at me when you're done, I'll know. Alright. Now divide that number by 365. Sorry, I should have warned you guys when you got there.
All right, I got it.
Okay.
Got your numbers?
What's your number?
$4,109.
4,109. What's yours, Jake?
That's weird, 4,109.
No way.
Neil, what's your number?
Yes.
2,200.
Debbie, what's yours?
5,400.
5,400. Brad, what's yours?
4,109.
Nick?
27,397.
You have yours yet, Michael?
136,986.
Okay. So we'll use Michael's because I like that one the most.
Really?
If I wrote you a check for 130, what was it? 136,000 per day, would that change your life at all?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, what would your life be like? Give us a day in the life.
I would not be here.
What about?
And I'm sorry.
That's why I picked.
I'm sorry in advance.
What about you, Taylor? What was your number? It's okay. Leah?
So if you were to pay me $2,200 every day,
Yes.
I would be supporting myself too. I'd be good. I'd be happy.
She wouldn't be here either.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here either. I wouldn't be
What's your
here.
point?
Ryan, what about you? What's the day?
I would be probably somewhere on the beach in Barbados right now.
Great. Well, it sounds like you're not going to get close, but kidding.
Did we hit him?
So think about this. So thinking bigger, Mike Ferry, a lot of this material is from him. He says you have to have a plan in place, right? A plan to help yourself think bigger. So I took 4 habits from Mike Ferry, Grant Cardone, some of the great authors, Gary Vaynerchuk, and I took 4 habits, and these are habits that not only do I put in my schedule every single day, they actually make it to my schedule. It's something I actually take the time to work on every day. The only person that's here when I get here, Jake, what's the first thing I do before I get on the phones every morning?
Write down affirmations, and then the last one that you write is the phone makes me money.
Right, I write down exactly what I want to make this year. I write down all of these things. So the first habit is thinking, spending time. I spend about 15 minutes a day just thinking about my goals. How ridiculous was our conversation today? hiring young Jeezy to have a concert.
To plan a birthday party.
Right, so I actually dedicate
Yes.
time to think, and it sounds crazy. 3 years ago, this was insane to me, but 3 years ago, I came into real estate with the goal of making $30,000 a year. I'm gonna make 3 times that this year, hopefully. So and I would have never dreamed of that. So this is kind of the result. They say that if you change your way of thinking, you change your life. Like, that shit's real. Sorry, that's not real. Like, take that to the bank. That's real, because it's changed my life. So that was the first behavior. It's thinking big is a process, and it's a learned one. So I already went into that. So you have to schedule time each day to think bigger. So you have to actually write it down in your schedule and dedicate a time, 15, 20 minutes to just doing that. Like I said, the first thing I write down every single day is 7 million, and I write it down 10 times, because that's what I want to sell this year. I write down $100,000, that's what I want to make this year. I write down 30 listings, that's how many listings I want to have before January. So I write these things down every day. Jake, behind my computer, what do I keep right behind the computer?
On the prospecting station,
Yes.
you have a vision board with the things that you're trying to accomplish.
Right. That was last year. I've matured a little bit since then. But yeah, so I keep pictures of my goals. The background on my phone is a G-Wagon. So it's important to keep these things around so that you're making a conscious effort to think about them. Every 15 minutes, I take mindset breaks in between prospecting. This reminds me of what I'm doing or why I'm doing this. So the second habit, you have to filter the things that you take in, right? So, we don't even realize how negative all of the people, how negative the world around us is. So we have to make a conscious effort to read better books. I genuinely, I would say 99% of my change mindset comes from the books that I've made a conscious effort to read. I had a goal of 1 book a week. Once I had the baby, I kind of slowed down a little bit, but I try to read books. I read autobiographies on big thinkers. I watch YouTube videos every single day. Mike Ferry, Gary Vaynerchuk, just all of the people that I like. Podcasts when I run. So sometimes I listen to music, depends on where my mood's at, but I listen to podcasts. I try to do that every single day. And I just filter out the negative people. I don't watch the news. John Ames, does anyone remember his quote from the Superstar Retreat this year? No, you know what? This was in Mike Ferry's book, 12 Things I Learned from Mike. He said, we're not in the business of lifting up the downtrodden. So when someone comes up to you and they just, it seems like everybody, they come up to you and they just immediately start complaining about how bad their day is and how everyone always has something to complain about. When I lived in Hawaii, most of my Marines complained about the weather there. Like, yeah, bro, I'm going to Cleveland in 2 weeks. Like, don't talk to me. You just can't, you just have to, don't be rude, but you have to kind of brush it aside. Filter the things that you take in. So, Gary Vaynerchuk, so like I said, I schedule this. So one of my goals, and this is going to make me sound terrible, I try to cut one negative person from my life every month, right? And I add one winner to my circle. Like I met last month, I met the executive director for Habitat for Humanity, and I just made I made every effort to just become his friend, add value. I do that when I went to the last Mike Ferry event. I made a lot of friends there, and I think that's important. So the third habit, and I'm way far out of order here. The third habit, you have to be very careful about who you surround yourself with. One time I was riding with Michael. He probably doesn't even remember this, but we were going to a listing appointment. It was like when I first started in the business, and we're driving through some area in Mentor, and he's going, I sold that house, I sold that house, I sold that. I mean, how cool would that be? Who would like to be able to drive through a neighborhood and say, I sold that one, I sold that one, right? Mm-hmm. We can all agree. Well, I said that to him. I said, Michael, that would be so cool to be able to just go through the neighborhood and say that. He said, well, I would rather say I own that one, I own that one, I own that one, I own that one. I'm like,
That's what I said, I remember.
That resonated with me though, because it just showed me how small I was really thinking. Like me, I'm like, it completely changed the scale that I was thinking on. And he may not even remember that, but I remember it very clearly. He, so that you have to surround yourself with people that think like that. Like that, we're the average of the 5 people. You've all heard that quote. That stuff's real. Take that. See, I didn't swear that time. That's real. The final habit. This one's from Mike Ferry himself. You have to upgrade everything. If you're the biggest, this is one I struggled with. If you're the biggest fish in the pond, you need to upgrade the whole pond. You need to raise your own personal standards. If I hung out with my, same friends that I had a year ago, 2 years ago, I'd probably be dead or in jail. Definitely on drugs. Some combination of the 3, but I wouldn't be where I'm at now. So you have to raise your own personal standards, because when you're comparing yourself to Michael's, when you're comparing yourself to other amazing, high producing, not just agents, entrepreneurs, business people, you start to raise the bar, and all of a sudden you're not at the top anymore. Now you're at the bottom. So you have to upgrade your appearance. I remember Michael made me go shopping because I had a rip in the back of my suit, and I only had one suit at the time, and I was prospecting, and it was like 3 days in a row. He kept coming in and telling me to change my suit, and finally he's just like, you know what, we're going to go on a listing appointment. Want to go? And he took me to Nordstrom Rack. And he made me upgrade my appearance, vocabulary. I read books on upgrading my vocabulary. That's important. The way you talk, the way you carry yourself, that's extremely important. Your health. You need to feel good about yourself. You need to try to be as healthy as possible. You look good, you feel good. Thinking, you need to upgrade the way you think, rather than try to find the pot. Like optimism, that's the key. Try to be optimistic about everything. Your car, your house, and you have to upgrade everything. So I'm like so out of order. I'm so sorry, guys. So none of the materials, aside from all of the awesome jokes, belong to me. You have to develop this personal plan to think bigger. It's a learned skill, it's a learned habit, and these are all habits that I implement. Each plan has to have a deadline. So like that, I have it in my schedule. What new friend did I make this month? That's what person did I cut off. So speaking of cutting off negative people, Ryan, I'm going to need you to take out your phone and delete my number.
2 in 1 day.
You know what? I'm cutting you out. You're pretty negative right now.
I'm kidding, but so I just outlined 4 steps. I hope this is helpful, guys. They say you change your thinking, you change your life. It really has changed my life. So I'm so happy to come up here and share some of these ideas with you. So step 1, develop the plan. I forgot what gentleman said it on the stage at the Superstar Retreat, but he said we overestimate what we do in the short term, and we underestimate what we can do in the long term. So develop an actual plan that's, develop. I don't want to say write goals, because your goals are going to grow. So develop your plan. Create the plan to think bigger. Write it down. Put this in your schedule. Then actually make a conscious effort to do it every day. You're going to miss days, but just make a conscious effort. If for whatever reason you miss a day, pick it up the next day. And a huge part of this, avoid complacency. A couple months ago, I cashed a check that was more than I made the entire year of 2016 or any year before that. I took a month off of work. I was here, I was physically here, I was on the phones.
You're also having a baby, I think, at the time.
That's true.
Yeah, school was starting and stuff, but it's an excuse. You have to avoid complacency. So all of these things are going to help you do that. To end, I'll just say that Mike Ferry says complacency is the disease of the human spirit. So you have to avoid that. Is there anything that I missed that? Was this helpful to you guys?
Yeah.